All right, it's Tuesday evening. 49ers licking their wounds from the loss against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they prepare for what usually is their get well medicine, the LA Rams. The 49ers have won 7 straight regular season games against the Rams. You know, the one time they didn't need to really get well recently against the Rams was the NFC title game. They were coming off those wins against the Rams, against the Dallas Cowboys, against the Green Bay Packers, and well, that was the time that the Rams beat them when the 49ers didn't need to get well. But now the 49ers need to get well. They lost in concerning fashion to the Kansas City Chiefs. For a team that has Super Bowl aspirations, the 49ers need to do better against the NFL's elite. Now, the good news is that these seasons are long. Every game is its own story. Every game is really a chapter, part of a novel, right? And chapters can turn really, really quickly. In between chapters 7 and 8 coming up here into week 8 for the 49ers, we will see what changes, because it will always change. The question is, does it change for the worse, even worse, or does it get better for the 49ers? And in the past, when they've needed it to get better against the Rams, it has gotten better against the Rams. Again, those 7 straight regular season wins. So that's the theme of the show tonight. We're going to be talking about the 49ers formula to right the ship. They have to do stuff on offense. They have to do stuff on defense. They have to do stuff on special teams. That's just the way it is when you get beaten in all 3 phases of the game, as was the case against the Kansas City Chiefs. I want to talk about the defensive side of the ball first. And if you have good questions, go ahead and get them ready. Maybe I go to some questions in between each section here, because we're going to talk about defense, we're going to talk about offense, and we're going to talk about special teams. So we'll have 3 sessions of questions here during dinner time on a Tuesday night. Decided to start a little bit earlier today, help out some of our East Coast friends. I know it's going to be really hard to help out European friends with the nighttime show. So those people probably just have to watch earlier. But East Coast people, I know you're probably getting ready to wind down, go to bed. It's 10:18 p.m., unless you just drink until 2 a.m. on Tuesday nights in New York City, which used to be the case. Maybe pre-2020. I think the city shuts down a little bit earlier than it did back then. But either way, YouTube is available on mobile, so hopefully you guys are checking it out. Anyway, we are starting earlier. Get your questions ready earlier, and let's talk the keys for the 49ers run defense to right the ship. The key piece to the 49ers run defense is, hands down, Eric Armstead. Without further ado, let's take a look at the graphic that I've prepared for you. This is the week last season that Eric Armstead moved full-time to defensive tackle, because the 49ers, Javon Kinlaw was in and out of the lineup. It'd be announced that he'd need ACL surgery about a week or 2 from now, if we rewind back 365 days. And the 49ers were having trouble stopping some of the interior run. Remember, the Detroit Lions in week 1 ripped off a couple big runs against the 49ers. Then the Green Bay Packers paper cut the 49ers to death. That was a week 3 game on Sunday Night Football. And then Aaron Rodgers obviously delivered the dagger there with 37 seconds left. He set up the game-winning field goal for Mason Crosby. But the problems in that game went back to the first half, when the 49ers couldn't stop the run, and Green Bay was able to get control of that game and stop the 49ers pass rush. Come week 8, the 49ers moved Armstead inside full-time because they realized that Javon Kinlaw was probably not going to be available for them. And you can see weeks 1 to 7 in 2021, the 49ers run defense by EPA per play ranked number 14 in the NFL. It was a mediocre run defense. It was right in the middle of the league in those rankings. Once Armstead moved inside full time, the 49ers became the number 1 run defense in the NFL. This season, we've seen a similar split. In the weeks with Armstead, the 49ers have been the number 8 run defense in the league. In the weeks without Armstead, they've been the number 24 run defense in the league. All right, so keep those splits in mind here as we discuss this. Obviously, the people who just blankly said, oh, DeForest Buckner gets more sacks than Eric Armstead, the 49ers made a mistake, they're not viewing this with enough nuance. Eric Armstead is as much about the versatility and the ability to stop the run as he is about the pure sacks. He's more about that, the versatility and the ability to stop the run than the pure sacks. Because guess what? Stopping the run by extension, will generate sacks. You have to earn the right to rush the passer. If you're not stopping the run with 4 down linemen, if your interior is getting pushed, you're going to have to dedicate extra resources to stopping the run. You're going to have to be more worried about stopping the run as the down lineman if you guys aren't good enough to do it just in your sleep, right? This has to be this is step 1. And if your efforts and your energy are focused on stopping the run, you're not going to be able to effectively dig deep, pin your ears back, and rush the passer. You're not going to set up those situations for yourself. It's no coincidence that last season, the 49ers pass rush wasn't very good in weeks 1 to 7, but it roared the life in weeks 8 to 18. And that is directly tied to the ability to stop the run. So, anyway, Armstead is so important. And the 49ers currently don't have him available. So, what's the solution here? Well, Kyle Shanahan said that he might be available this week, but I'm not buying it. The way that I read this is the first possible availability for Eric Armstead is going to be after the 49ers bye week, November 13th, against the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, even if everything goes well between now and then in terms of Eric Armstead's foot treatment, because this is a foot injury, it could all go south again the week after that. The problem here is a lingering injury and a mysterious one called plantar fasciitis in his foot. So the 49ers, simply put, are going to have to get used to life without Armstead if they want to make their title chances this season sustainable. This foot condition, again, it could take weeks, it could take months, it could take days. I don't know. But they're going to have to figure out a way to make this run defense work even without Eric Armstead. And it's going to have to be built into their plans, because otherwise they're going to be at the whims of this plantar fasciitis, which is a very unpredictable injury to track. So without Armstead, the 49ers have to play harder and smarter. We're talking about that depth inside. It's going to have to play harder and smarter. Maybe they take a look at T.Y. McGill on the practice squad to improve some of this defensive tackle play. Maybe they just hope that Kevin Givens can give it to them. Kerry Hyder with some interior reps can give it to them. Either way, the defensive ends, by extension, have to play smarter football. Nick Bosa was just caught in the backfield. It looked like he just wanted to pass rush against the Kansas City Chiefs, and they just ran Mecole Hardman right by him. It wasn't pretty for the 49ers defense in that game against the Chiefs. They were not disciplined enough on the defensive line. And because of that, I mean, they tried to put the cart in front of the horse. Let's put it this way. They tried to rush the passer before they stopped the run. And you have to earn the right to rush the passer in this league. You absolutely have to earn the right to rush the passer. If you don't, it's not going to end up pretty. And the Kansas City Chiefs exposed the 49ers for that. So there's going to have to be more discipline on the edges. This goes down to coaching, D'Amico Ryans, Chris Kasarik. After, watching the film, which had to be brutal for the 49ers of this game against Kansas City, they have to think that the Rams are going to try to expose them too with some sneak attack runs, some jet sweeps. Maybe LA doesn't have the same speed personnel as the Kansas City Chiefs, but they're still going to try this. And if the 49ers are asleep at the switch, if they're pinning their ears back before they've earned it against the Rams, well, it's going to be another long day in the office. So more discipline is going to be needed from those edge rushers. The defensive tackles just have to suck it up and realize, hey, we might not be the A-list guys, but we're going to be counted on to deliver more snaps to defensive tackle, with Armstead likely out and Kinlaw obviously out on IR. And they're going to have to find a way to make it work on the interior. Now, the Rams, they're healing up a little bit on the interior. Remember, they're on their third-string center when the 49ers just worked them earlier this month. And I think that was a big part of the 35 pressures for the 49ers, the 8 sacks. Brian Allen might be back this week for the Rams, and he's their center. And that's going to put the interior defensive lineman, the backup interior defensive lineman for the 49ers, into a test. But these guys have to hold up, because I don't think we've seen great play from Fred Warner. I know Dre Greenlaw got hurt this last game. Talanoa Hufanga was missing a lot of tackles. I think 3 missed tackles for the 49ers against the Chiefs. Guys, as the interior D-line goes, so go the defenders behind it. It's so important for those guys to win in the wide 9. Otherwise, the whole defense kind of, the foundation of the defense starts crumbling. This is built from the inside out. You can talk all you want about the 49ers. Oh, they should have re-signed DJ Jones. Well, yeah, it would have been really, really nice to have DJ Jones right now. but the 49ers don't have him. And that means that the depth has got to step up. I think that Warner starts looking a whole lot better. Hufanga starts looking a whole lot better as soon as that spine, that backbone of the defense is stronger than it has been over the past 2 weeks. All right. That to me, that's the biggest fix defensively. I think they're going to get healthier. I think Charvarius Ward is going to get healthier. Who knows? Maybe they sit him this week, but I don't know if it didn't seem that he was at 100% in this game. Maybe it's because he missed some of the practice time. Talanoa Hufanga obviously missed some practice time as well, and he missed some of those tackles. The secondary is going to have to work its way into a rhythm, but it's going to be a whole lot easier if that defensive line plays disciplined football up front and does stop the run. All right. Any questions about the 49ers defense? Well, yeah, the all 22 is going to be puke worthy for any game that is statistically the worst defensive performance since 2006. And that's what it was for the 49ers in this one. All right. If you guys have any questions about the defense, I'll answer them. If you don't have any questions about the defense, then I am going to move forward into the talk about the 49ers offense. All right. We're going to move forward into talk about the 49ers offense. Okay. Screen passes. I think, when we talk about the 49ers offense, we talk about rhythm and a lack of rhythm. And I mean, they've done individual components well this year. They obviously had a couple good games, productive games against the Rams and then against the Panthers. The last two games, and I mean, they did individual stuff well again against the Falcons, but they couldn't piece it together, right? They had a couple of those drives early on that scored touchdowns. And I guess you could say that against the Chiefs, they did some nice things as well. It just paled in comparison to the record-breaking performance on the other side from Patrick Mahomes and company. But, I mean, I think we're in general agreement that the 49ers are producing at less than the sum of their parts offensively, right? There's too much talent for this team to not be taking over some of these games on the offensive side of the ball. And the rhythm of the offense is the missing piece here. I think you have a lot of talent, then you have results that are not commensurate with that amount of talent. So talent's over here, results over there. To bridge the gap between talents and results so that the results start looking a whole lot more like the talent that you have to find rhythm, especially in Shanahan's system. Because here's the thing, Shanahan's offense is an unusual type of high risk, high reward tightrope. Shanahan loves to run the ball. He likes an offensive line that's better at run blocking than it is at pass protection. His plays and the way that he dials them up for yak and timing rely on the 49ers being on schedule offensively, right? That means second down and 6 or fewer yards, third down and 4 or 3 or 4 fewer yards, put it that way. As soon as this turns into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 2nd and 9, this is off schedule stuff. The 49ers are not in a situation where Shanahan can be lethal with his run pass. I don't want to say run pass options. That's the play, but run pass choices, the line of scrimmage, play action. I mean, you talk about positionless skill position weapons. You don't know if Christian McCaffrey is going to be deployed on a pass pattern or if he's going to get the handoff if it's 2nd down and 4. But you sure have an idea of what Christian McCaffrey is going to do if it's 2nd down and 9 or 3rd down and 9, right? 3rd and 3 is an option choice down. 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, those are option choice downs. But 2nd and 9, 3rd and 9, those are not. So that's the tightrope that the 49ers are walking, because if they are able to walk it, the offense looks awesome. I mean, we could always go back to the NFC Championship game against Green Bay where they just throttled them, right, with the run game, because they're always ahead of down and distance. Run game is blocking with all of its perfect pieces and angles, and everybody is on point. But then you could go to, the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, the offense looks horrendous. It's either awesome or horrendous. That's the tightrope that the 49ers walk. And I think it's because they are so reliant on staying in appropriate down and distance to maintain rhythm. The problem this year is that 2nd down has been this massive problem down for the 49ers. So they're number 13 EPA per play on first downs. They're number 13 EPA per play on third and fourth downs, but they're number 29 EPA per play on second down. And to me, that has a lot to do with their. I, they've been successful this year when they've passed to set up the run, but they've just been running into brick walls whenever they've tried to run to set up the pass. And you can't say, "Oh, well, Kyle Shanahan's so stubborn that he won't pass to set up the run," because he's actually done it more than once. He did it against the Rams. That's how they got out to the lead in that game and ultimately controlled that game. And they opened up the Jeff Wilson Jr. gashes. So it's not a matter of Shanahan hasn't done it at all, but I think that he needs to commit to doing it more. He needs to commit and get comfortable with doing what worked against LA, against Carolina, and not revert back to let's just run against the brick wall like he did against the Atlanta Falcons, right? It was LA and Carolina where the 49ers passed to set up the run. And then these past 2 weeks, well, this past week was more about the defense than it was the offense. Don't let that get twisted. But in general, if the 49ers want the offense to take over games, I really do think that he needs to set up better second down situations. And if they're not running successfully on first down, hey, maybe this changes with Christian McCaffrey, right? No Kyle Juszczyk this week in all likelihood. So that's going to be a little bit of a problem. But the 49ers have to be better on those second downs. And you set yourself up, I think, for better success on second down, on first down. It's all this domino effect. It's all this intricate balance offensively, right? So we know that staying on schedule is so important for Shanahan. They got to make sure they get first down right. And a lot of that's going to depend on what defense shows up, right? You show up in too high safety on first down, okay, run to Christian McCaffrey. Bring one of those safeties down, show a little bit more aggressiveness, more men in the box defensively. All right, that's where Christian McCaffrey can be deployed on a pass pattern. And I think it's so important that Shanahan gives Jimmy Garoppolo enough freedom at the line of scrimmage to make the correct call based on what the defense is showing on first down. So that way that the 49ers can get into a better rhythm on second down. Again, if they're seeing a lot of 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 3, even 2nd and 6 is okay against LA, they're going to be successful. But if this is a lot of 2nd and 10 because it's incomplete because they didn't have the right pass play called, or Garoppolo made a bad pass, or 2nd and 9 because they got stuffed on the run, it's going to be a long day against LA. And the second down efficiency so far this year hasn't been good enough for the 49ers. So anyway, I talked about screen passes yesterday, and I know I mentioned it a few minutes ago when I got into the offensive discussion. Are screen passes the key to building the bridges between downs so that the 49ers are a rhythmic offense? I think yes. I personally think yes. Here's a screen, and this is a more complex study again, but here's the 49ers screen pass usage rate during the seasons that Kyle Shanahan has been the head coach. Blue is more passes, red is fewer screen passes. In 2017 with Carlos Hyde, they were number 7. This is running back screens. 2019, number 10. So they're above average in both of those 2 years. They had Tevin Coleman, who they actually just released today in that 2019 season. 2018, Jerick McKinnon got hurt, so they didn't run a lot of screens. They're still developing Matt Breida's hands, I think, for that express purpose. He got better in 2019, but they're number 23 in 2018. And in the past 3 years, they've run a ton of wide receiver screens, a lot of them, tight end screens, at what you name it, but they haven't run the running back screen with a lot of regularity. In fact, only 7 running back screens this year. And, with defenses getting aggressive with the blitz, defenses coming in, they could run these blitzes on first down against the 49ers run game, because the 49ers run more than almost any other team in the NFL on first down. They can try to plug the run game with those aggressive blitzes that can also turn into devastating pass blitzes just in case the 49ers are passing on first down. Well, the best way to mitigate pressure often is a screen pass, a running back screen pass. And that's something that I think the 49ers need to run more of. And I think Kyle Shanahan knows this. And I asked Kyle Shanahan about it today, but Christian McCaffrey ran more running back screens than anyone else in the NFL with Carolina over the first 6 games of this season. Christian McCaffrey specializes in being a screen outlet. And if we're talking about 49ers offensive rhythm, being better on second downs, being better on third downs, being better on all downs, adding an outlet game for Jimmy Garoppolo, especially since this 49ers offensive line has been shaky, especially when defenses start bringing a lot of pressure. Well, that outlet can help make the 49ers O-line look a lot better. It can help Kyle Shanahan look a lot better, and it can help Jimmy Garoppolo look a lot better. And everybody here has the same goal. They want an offense that's better rhythmically. And I think that screens can be the key to better offensive rhythm. So this up here on your screen, I'm going to keep close track of this. We're going to keep close track of how many running back screens the 49ers run moving forward. All right. Moving on to why don't we actually, I promised some Q&A. So questions about the offense. I'll take 2 or 3 of them. Let me go here to the comment section, see what you guys are saying. Put question marks on your questions too, so I can see them. I'm not going to answer defense or special teams right now. We're in the offense section. Do I think Kyle needs an offensive coordinator? Because it's too much for one person to handle. I think that he has a lot of staff help on offense. I mean, he's got Anthony Lynn, a former head coach, that's helping devise some of these plays. Brian Fleury obviously has been coordinating a lot of the run game. Chris Furster is in on this schematically. He's got the title of run game coordinator for the 49ers. So there's a lot of brain power on the staff. Does Kyle Shanahan need to change something with process on game days? Maybe, because I don't think that he always has the most optimal 3rd and 4th down decisions. The adjustment thing is a concern. The 49ers have slowed down in the second half offensively. So you could say, oh, does Kyle Shanahan have too much on his plate? Maybe. But, I don't think that the solution is just saying, oh, you're the offensive coordinator, let's hire a guy per se. They had an offensive coordinator last year, Mike McDaniel. But Mike McDaniel got hired to be the Dolphins head coach. And everybody thinks Mike McDaniel's a really smart guy. Kyle Shanahan thought that as well, wanted to hold on to him as long as possible. But obviously success is going to create opportunities for members of your coaching staff. But I think that it's more about game day flow and allowing, voices in your ear to, push things one direction, trusting the voices in your ear. And that voice in Kyle Shanahan's ear was often Mike McDaniel in the past. It's more about that than a formal title. Oh, this guy needs to be offensive coordinator. Kyle Shanahan has too much on his plate. The self-scouting and the self-evaluation that Kyle Shanahan needs to do is about being receptive to the feedback that's coming through the headset on game days, because I think there's plenty of smart feedback coming through. When you have a staff, again, this staff has got a lot of talent on it between Furster, Anthony Lynn. We can go through the whole staff. I mean, these guys, there's pedigree here, and there's also in-house development that's happened over the past several years. Brian Fleury, for example, he's been at every single position over his coaching career. He's coached everywhere. He sees the game from multiple different angles. Tight ends coach officially now, but he's helping coordinate the 49ers run game. All of these guys have input on game day, and it's important for Kyle Shanahan to be able to manage that input as it comes in and correctly apply it moving forward. Why haven't the 49ers started McGill at defensive tackle yet? That might be coming. It's likely because defensive tackle McGill was a great pass rusher this preseason. He got like 3.5 sacks for Minnesota in preseason. The 49ers don't really need a pass rusher, defensive tackle. They need to make sure that whoever they plug in there is going to have a really strong effect against the run. And it's really hard in the wide 9 to be a good run defending defensive tackle, because I've talked about this a lot. You stretch out the defensive line. This is for the benefit of the edge rushers, right? Those edge rushers want to be wider so they can roar around the tackles. Well, that leaves the defensive tackles on islands because the edge rushers are so far away, and there's a lot of space that you have to command. That's why Eric Armstead is so good at this, because he's 6'8", right? Eric Armstead has the length and the strength and the combination of both of those to really man up on the inside, to really commandeer the inside, and obviously has the technical skill to do it as well. So you can't just find a guy off the street and think that he's going to be a dominant 4-3 wide 9 run stopping defensive tackle who has a domino effect on the rest of the defense. That's why they spent premium draft capital on Javon Kinlaw. And that's why Eric Armstead has gotten paid so much money. Both of these guys do the run stopping part of this well, but neither of them is currently available. So to answer your question, I think that you can't expect the same out of McGill in the run game as you would from Armstead and Javon Kinlaw. Maybe he's developing into that. We'll see. I mean, this is a veteran who is available. He's not a superstar, right? And the 49ers definitely need more run game production from defensive tackle than anything else. Kyle needs to show confidence in Jimmy not being conservative, Britt says. Do you agree? Yeah, I think some of it is that. I think Kyle Shanahan, when he's had to let Jimmy Garoppolo just air it out, go for it, when the 49ers have absolutely been forced to do that. You look at the drive against the Rams last year to tie the game in week 18. 49ers have done well. Now, I'm not saying you need to be desperate offensively and just be airing it out all over the field on every drive. You still want to play within structure. But again, the 49ers, I think, had to pass to set up the run against the Rams and then against the Panthers based on the defensive looks they were getting at the start of those games. And they did well. You have to get Garoppolo into a rhythm, not only because it's good for your QB and your receivers to catch the ball, maybe fewer drops later in games too, right? If everybody gets involved early when there's a little less pressure. But beyond getting guys in rhythm just for rhythm's sake, you're also starting to win this tightrope act, right? That you need to win as the 49ers offense of staying ahead of schedule. Complementary football also is bigger than just run versus pass. It's offense, defense, special teams, where your defense is going to look better if you can get an early lead. They could play more downhill. Your special teams, too, I think by extension, if you're confident, have some swagger. So I think, yeah, we've been talking about this all year. It is important for Shanahan to embrace the fact that his quarterback is a good passer, right? I mean, I think we have clear evidence over several years of a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a good passer. But the weaknesses have shown up with the interceptions over the middle of the field when he's trying to force the ball into a window when it shouldn't be there. And those typically are going to come in situations where the 49ers are in poor down and distance. If you give Garoppolo run pass leverage at the line of scrimmage where play action is a possibility, run pass option is a possibility, anything where the defense is guessing what might come, Garoppolo is generally going to succeed. So this is where quarterback play caller cohesion comes in. And I do think that there needs to be a little bit more belief from Kyle Shanahan that Garoppolo could come up to that line of scrimmage, especially early in these games, and make sure that the 49ers get into a position where they can execute their formula. And a lot of people are talking about it, the 1-30 record when they're down 3+ entering the fourth. And it's a fair criticism of Kyle. I criticized Kyle Shanahan for that a lot last week because that stat was just coming out. But I think it's really important when that stat comes out to say, hey, this is a Shanahan issue. That the offenses are plotting because they're plotting by design, right? And Kyle needs to know when it's time to, okay, let's snap this into gear. And sometimes I think it's smart to snap it into gear before you're behind. Because then if you do fall behind, especially if your defense is playing as poorly as the 49ers did against the Chiefs, at least you don't have to roar up the engine right then and there. So the 49ers, again, there's plenty of evidence to show us that when they've needed to get it done through the air, the 49ers personnel has gotten it done through the air. Jimmy Garoppolo's again, you could go back to week 18 against the Rams. He was hurt in that game. He threw the way down the field. 2019, Saints game. 2019, the Arizona games. 49ers can throw. They've got the personnel to catch it. But Kyle Shanahan is very committed to his formula. He needs to do a better job of recognizing, though, when that formula needs to expand a little bit. When you have to, start playing some chess, not just checkers. And I think that's going to help that 1-30 record when he's trailing by 3+ moving forward. Obviously, the goal is to not be trailing entering the fourth quarter, though. That's big too. You don't want to be trailing entering the fourth quarter. That's part of the larger objective here. Nobody wants a come from behind win when if the alternative would be to actually be in command of the game earlier. All right, let's go to special teams, which remains an issue for the 49ers. Got a graphic here for you guys on special teams that I'm going to pop up because it's been ugly for the 49ers in a couple phases of the special teams game. And this is absolutely something that they're going to need to fix to find these DVOA rankings. Let me refresh this screen, see where they are. I was on a tweet storm a little bit earlier today. The Rams ranked number 30 in special teams, by the way, even worse than the 49ers. And remember, we made a big deal about the 49ers finishing number 26 in special teams last year. 49ers made a big deal about it. They didn't bring their coordinator, Richard Hightower, back. Well, guess where the 49ers rank in special teams this season under a new special teams coordinator, Brian Schneider? Number 26 again. They have not yet improved that phase of the game. Here's how it divides up on special teams for the 49ers. These are ranks, DVOA. Field goal and extra point units, number 31. Now, that might be a little bit artificially low because of it happened, right? The block and the touchdown against Seattle in week 2. But I think Robbie Gould's been better than the 31st best kicker in the league for the 49ers. So we take that with a grain of salt, assuming the 49ers keep on improving their blocking on field goal and extra point tries. It should improve because Robbie Gould is a proven veteran. But this is concerning right here. Kickoff, the 49ers are number 28. Teams are getting return yardage against them. They haven't been efficient on kickoff and kick coverage. And then even worse on kick return. 49ers are the worst in the league, number 32. I mean, at this point, they're just better off, and Ray McLeod just takes the knee, doesn't try to take it out, because they can't start many more drives at their 10-yard line and expect to be successful. The punt game is doing well, though. Mitch Wishnowsky and the punt coverage, they're ranked in the top 10. And the punt return game, Ray McLeod almost broke one for a touchdown against the Atlanta Falcons. And, I mean, they've been doing fine in the punt return game. Thing about the punt return game against Kansas City this past week is that they never got a chance because the defense was so bad. The Chiefs didn't punt until garbage time. So punt return stuck there at number 4. You add all this up, it's obviously black and white when you look at the difference between the kick stuff and the punt stuff. You add all it up, though, and they're number 26. And obviously the field goal extra point situation is going to get better. You don't expect Ross Dwelly to just fall asleep at the switch and give up a block on extra points every week. I mean, or field goals every week. That hurt the 49ers. The kick game, kickoffs and kick returns. What's going on there? Can that get better? I certainly hope so if you're the 49ers. Will it get better? I would certainly hope so if you're the 49ers. They are not good enough right now to be ranked last in a phase of special teams. Their offense is middle of the pack. I know they have more talent than that, right? So you can hope if you're a 49ers fan, they get better. And their defense obviously has been horrific over the past 2 weeks. I mean, EPA per play, number 1 defense for the first, how many games have they played? 7? For the first 5 games of the season, number 1, number 32 over the past 2 weeks. The defense has been horrific. So you have a middling offense, horrific defense, and a special teams unit that's ranked number 26. 49ers aren't good enough to afford that luxury. I mean, the Chiefs could afford to have a lower ranked special teams unit. They missed a field goal this other day. 49ers can't afford that right now. They need to make up ground on special teams. They can't just lose more ground on special teams. So it is really important that the 49ers are working on that, moving on up in that special teams world. Moving forward, talking about the Rams, the big challenge is going to be run defense for the 49ers. The Rams have gotten a little bit healthier in some ways, but more hurt in other ways since the 49ers played them. But they have been on the uptick defensively. And you got big Greg Gaines in the middle. Remember the wham block from Charlie Werner set up that Jeff Wilson touchdown run. You obviously have 99, Aaron Donald in the middle, Leonard Floyd on this Rams team. Bobby Wagner is on this Rams team at linebacker. I mean, these guys can stop the run. They're number 2 DVOA and run defense. It's only been getting better. Although I feel that the 49ers, their offense is starting to show the characteristics of an offense that it doesn't really matter who they play. It matters how the 49ers play. I can't say that. I mean, it will matter who they play. I'm not discounting that. But my point is the 49ers have enough talent offensively to where they were able to turn it on against the Rams, especially over the course of the first half a few weeks ago. their ebbs and their flows here, the 49ers offensive performances seem way more reliant on them than who they've been playing. But it's still going to be a challenge against this Rams run defense. They're number 14 against the pass. They've been improving there as well. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey's going to want some revenge against Deebo Samuel. The question is, are the Rams tough enough to, plow forward even if this game doesn't start well for them? And the 49ers usually start well against the Rams. They weren't tough enough last time. Now, other side of the ball, the Rams are going to probably have their center, Brian Allen, back. They had their third string center last time the 49ers played them. I talked about that, 35 pressures, 8 sacks. So I don't think the 49ers will be as prolific getting after Stafford as they were at home at Levi Stadium with that third string center, but they're still going to be a whole lot more prolific if they stop the run, if they get a little bit more disciplined, as I talked about in the defensive section of this. They're going to still be more prolific than they were against the Chiefs. But I think, the overarching point here is remember that the 49ers passed to set up the run in week 4. They came out firing. Jimmy Garoppolo, I believe, hit Brandon Ayuk on one of the first passes slant there. They came out firing, more passes than runs over the first few plays, and then boom, you hit him, Jeff Wilson, right up the middle. Does that equation change with Christian McCaffrey? Maybe and maybe not, because I think what changes is your adaptability with Christian McCaffrey. The guy can run pass patterns. He can run every route in the book. He's got the whole route tree, which is unusual for a running back. And obviously, he's got juice as a running back. And that's what makes this difficult for the Rams, and that's what benefits the 49ers. This is why they spent so much on Christian McCaffrey, because you could show up on drive 1 and you could see if the Rams are overplaying you in any regard. And based on how they're overplaying you, you adjust because Christian McCaffrey is that versatile. So it's going to be up to the 49ers to be on top of their P's and their Q's as far as utilizing McCaffrey correctly. And that's a larger thing, right? Will the 49ers utilize their talent correctly? Because they've got all this positionless skill position talent that can do so many different things, but they haven't rhythmically brought it all together yet. But there's no excuse for this offense to not be one of the more overpowering units in the league, even with some of that sketchiness up front, even with that offensive line. Mike McGlinchey, I get it, at right tackle, looked horrible on a few plays there, especially when Chris Jones was working against them. We'll see if Aaron Donald repeats what Chris Jones did and moves out and tries to rush against Mike McGlinchey in this game. 49ers would love that for the run game's sake, to open up some stuff up the middle. But you have to leverage good McGlinchey. And there was a lot of good McGlinchey in this past game too. The thing is, the tightrope that Kyle Shanahan sets up for this offense makes the bad plays look horrific, because they put the 49ers behind schedule, and then they put the 49ers into pass-first situations. And this offensive line is a run-first offensive line, and it creates a whole domino effect of crap for the 49ers. So it's so important that they play this game downhill, that they show up with the versatility that they have, with the weapons that they have, and they establish a rhythm that pushes the Rams downhill. And the 49ers are the ones pushing them downhill. You don't want to be pushing the Rams uphill, because if you're trying to push the Rams uphill, they're good enough to push you right back downhill. You have to play the game downhill, and that's key for the 49ers. All right, everybody, it's getting a little bit late, and I haven't had dinner yet. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Subscribe to The Athletic, as always. Follow along on Twitter. That's where a lot of those good notes are. And those of you just joining, welcome to our 2022 49ers coverage. Hope you like it, and I'll talk to you all soon. Get some good questions ready. We might do a Q&A maybe a little bit later tonight, maybe a little bit later this week, but good questions will be welcomed in greater quantity on that show. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good night and a good dinner if you haven't eaten yet, like me. Bye now.